Hello and welcome, luminous beings of light. Thank you for joining me here at the SoulFire Alchemist. I'm your host, Dr. Beth. I am a metaphysician and a doctor of divinity and also an esoteric interfaith minister. I wanted to share with you something today that it's been on my mind for a while. I had a recurring dream about my father. Most of you have been watching with me for a while, and for those of you who don't, know that my father passed away in January of last year, so January of 2023. So, what I'm bringing to you is something that is from my past. I had an older channel on YouTube that it doesn't exist now, but one of the videos that I took down when I took down the channel a few years ago was titled Drowning Dreams and Diving into Regression. This is part of a little kind of a mini series I had started called Empowering Podcast. I think there's other podcasts. So, this has been several years ago. And it was just ones of me recording my voice rather than you watching me like you are right now on a video. However, the release date on this video that I'm getting ready to share with you is January 12th of 2021. Now, when I was going through my archives, what I found very astounding is that my father passed away. I won't say the exact day, but he passed away in January of 2024. So 2 years before his death, I recorded the video that I'm getting ready to show you. Now, just to give you a little bit of background on what it is before I hit play, is that this dream was a recurring dream that I had about my father drowning. And it started happening when I was a child. So really young, like I don't even remember how old, an infant probably. So as a lot, as far back as I can remember being able to dream and remembering that I did so. So I began having these dreams about him that were recurring, and they were quite disturbing. The dream came to a final conclusion after many, many years, right? So the final conclusion to this recurring dream, this recurring nightmare that I had for many, many years, I had a final conclusion to that dream in 2020. Now, I didn't record and put the podcast out until January 12th, 2021, as you will see. However, this dream occurred to me in 2020 at some point. So I had this dream, just maybe 2.5 years before my father died. Now, for those of you that are really into the things that my channel is about, astrology, shamanism, magic, manifestation, inner work, introspection, improving yourself, maybe bringing yourself into a more spiritual space in life. Those of you would be really interested in this because, there's something to our dreams. There's something about feedback loops that we get, and the big question, what is time? As we look into the ideas of regression. And for me, as a practitioner, as a healer, as somebody who works for and on behalf of you, when you come to see me for a session, we can do past, we can do alternate life and future life regression. Because in the space of what I know personally as the shamanic world, there is no time, right? So time is sort of relative. Now, it isn't for us on this earth plane. We have to deal with it every single day. But surely sometimes you've noticed a quickening of time. Sometimes you've noticed time slowing down, or it seems to just come to a stop. And you look up, hours have passed. You have no idea how, because you feel like you've only been there for the few moments or however long it is that you've experienced that. So we call that time dilation. In the interest of not wanting to make this too long, the video itself was sort of a long video because I went through the whole process of telling the background and the story about the recurring dream itself. But what I went into that was very important as well is how we look at other people and how we cast shame and blame, not just on ourselves, but maybe on other people, our parents, right? So this is the era that I work in a lot. It's like if you've had a lot of trauma growing up, if you have had, a lot of ways in which yourself and your natural expression was pushed into a box. I am one to kind of help you bring that out, right? So that you are not being repressed in your self-expression anymore. And we use many different tools to help shape and hone and refine that. And I bring many tools to the table in that regard because you're a unique individual. So I do what I call bespoke work, and you'll find this word out there a lot now, more being used. However, it's been around for a long time. And bespoke just means that we're looking at you something unique and individual that you want for yourself. And we're making something custom to you, right? So the idea and the notion behind this dream is to look at an individual's life through that bespoke lens. Now, I realize not everybody believes in past lives, and you don't have to. This one is just fine. There's plenty of happening in this life for you to look into and look deeply within. You don't have to hold that belief system. And I, as an interfaith minister, hold people from all walks of life and belief systems. It's kind of my job. It's my job to kind of learn the language. And if I don't know it, just try to be in still understanding long enough to try to unpack it with you. So I do know where you're coming from, and I do know what your belief is. That's why I always say it doesn't matter to me what word you use for God. Allah, Buddha, Yeshua, Jesus, great mystery, oneness, dazzling darkness. There's many names to the one, and we could use many different ones and do, depends on what culture, what background you're from, what your beliefs are. So all that to say, I wanted to share with you this dream that I had that was the conclusion of his death because it scared me. And in Appalachian terminology, scared the living daylights out of me, right? At the time, it was very disturbing for me to have that dream because at the time I was worried about my father. I was worried about his life. I was very concerned about his inner workings as a human being, as a soul, as it were. I knew that he was a Christian. I knew that he read the Bible every day. But my dad had a lot of problems. He had a lot of issues in his life as I look at him right now. There was so much trauma there. I don't want to speak to that in this episode because that's not what this episode is about. This episode is not to look at me and my trauma and what I had to go through. I've had to go through great steps and links spiritually to heal those wounds. And just because somebody might do something horrible to you doesn't mean maybe that you don't still love them when they're your family, they're familiar to you. So my point in this, a couple of years ago when I put this out in 2021 was for the purposes of helping you understand how the most you've been trampled on in your life, the worst, most vile, venomous, most poisonous arrows somebody could have put into you, right? As you pull it out, there's gold somewhere in that wound, that there's gold in that trauma for you. And there's education, there's knowledge, there's wisdom, there's grace, there's beauty. There are things that happen to you in that trauma because it don't feel so nice to look at it and feel about it right now. I get it. Believe me, I get it. But I'm here to move, shift, and transform my perspective and help you to do the same thing so that you can take another view in your life on something that has happened to you and to put a scope on it so that you can maybe look at it in a new light, in a different light. So that's what the aim and the goal is. And in the video that I'm going to share with you. So, but the main one, and the reason I wanted to put it back out there isn't just because I mean, I could have just slapped it back up on my YouTube channel and called it a day. But this requires some attention. It really does. Apologies. I keep having to talk to my camera because it's not wanting to focus well. So I apologize about that. I'm looking into getting some new technology for the ministry. So if you'd like to make a donation, link below. And by the way, while you're here, please like and subscribe. I'm trying to rebuild the channel, get myself back out there, create some funds for the ministry so I can go forth with what we're doing. And yes, I do intend to put out a video to talk more with you about what SoulFire Ministries is, what Appalachian SoulFire Shamanic Arts is all about. That's a project that we're doing. I'm very, very proud of it. I've got a lot of passion for it, and I know there's many out there that also do as well. So, but for this specific purpose, I wanted to show you just how it's important to pay attention to your dreams and what goes on in your dreams, and the fact that they show you things, and sometimes it can be scary, right? Not pleasant sometimes. But the fact is that if we're going to live in this world of magic as we live, we have to take these things into consideration and use our mind, use our emotions, and sometimes even our own body. This is the holistic path to be able to learn and understand a given thing. And when we have dreams, they can be very important and they mean something. They're trying to give us a message. So I just wanted to share it with you because to me it was profound. And I tend to be one that wants to share profound wisdom and knowledge and discoveries with you. You'll find on this channel. So without further ado, we're going to see if we can bring up the share screen, and I'm going to watch it with you. So you may see me fast forwarding through a few parts in order to save you time right now. But if it's something that you're interested in seeing the full video on, I recommend you go to my website, soulfiremultiversity.com, and you can sign up for our newsletter. Okay. And our newsletter, if you go and sign up as a student on the website and you actually go to the sign in button and you sign up, you'll actually have some access to some of the videos that I have put up there. And normally I reserve that only for my members. However, if you're watching this video, if it's available and you can go sign up for that, do. At some point, I'll probably release this video out anyway onto YouTube because it was a really good one. And the points that I was trying to get across. And that's what I do. I use my own trauma and my own pain to talk to you about and relate to you, right? And to say you're not alone. And if these are things that you maybe have felt before, that you aren't alone. And yes, there is an answer. There is a way for you to work through it. It is possible to navigate. Because if somebody has done it before, to me, that has always meant that I can do it too. And that's what I hope, is that you get the message that you can do this too. All right. And I hope that you are enjoying the message with it. And you can always pop me over an email, make a comment on the video if you have any questions about it, and any comments about it. I welcome those. All right. So, as I said, without further ado, this was from January 12th, 2021. I call it My Empowering Podcast, but it was titled Drowning Dreams and Diving into Regression.
Thank you for joining me here for Empowering Podcast. I hope that you're doing well with everything going on in the world. And I was just sitting thinking about hardships people are having right now with each other and how easy it is for people to look at one side or the other and cast this shadow, this wide net and this blanket of, oh, you're a bad person, or, oh, you haven't made good decisions in your life, or even the most mild, oh, you're never going to make a decision to heal. You might even have somebody in your life that you think you're never going to change, and you'll go to your deathbed being the same way. You'll never see things any differently than you do right now. So I wanted to tell you a little story about a dream that has occurred in Bethlehem since she was a little girl. When I was little, I had a recurring nightmare over and over again about my father drowning. And I never could save him. And he would just be treading water, and his head would just barely be above water, and he would be sinking under. And I would try everything, every dream. I was handing my arms down, handing, whatever I could get my hands on that was nearby to try to save him, to try to pull him out, to try to keep him from drowning. And in every single dream, I could never save him. And these dreams happened pretty often when I was a kid. I would say probably at least once a week I would have these dreams as a small child. And as I got up into my teenage years, they occurred a little bit less, maybe once a week or so. And then, as I got older, once a month or so, something like that. But then, after I had my near-death experience and the illness that I went through, they got a little bit less and less. And as I went through my shamanic apprenticeship and healed a lot of my own trauma, they never really completely went away, but they did minimize to the point where I maybe had one once a year, maybe twice a year. But it never changed. It was always the same dream of my father drowning and me not being able to save him no matter what I did. And this year, in 2020, actually, last year I should say now, but this has probably been, I don't know, maybe within the last 8 months or so, I had this dream again. And in this dream, I was able to get him out on the shore. And he still had water in his lungs. And I reached my hand down to grab his. And when I did, he grabbed it. And in that same moment, a charge of plasma lightning, almost like a force that was very plasma-like, came down and entered his body. And of course, we locked arms and I couldn't let go, and it was like he was being electrocuted. And this light shot out of every single part of his body, his eye sockets, his hair, his head, crown chakra, his fingers, his toes, every pore of his skin. Just this light just started coming out of him. And it was as though he was being electrocuted. And you could see this. He became this light being. But you could see his skeleton, and it was quite traumatic, as you might imagine, to have this dream. But there was such a polarity in it because as he was being electrocuted, this light, this pure light, was being passed through me. Now, normally you would think, oh, well, this would have easily electrocuted you in the dream. Well, that's not what happened. Instead of being electrocuted, I had what I would call an ascension or enlightenment process. And I've had a few of these dreams before. And a lot of fellow people out there who do quantum healing and any other type of meditation where you really, really go and enter into the void, and you've entered that place of bliss point, ecstasy, bliss consciousness. You've heard me speak about on this channel before. Well, it's likened into that because it's a feeling of orgasmic feeling of a spiritual ecstasy and bliss that takes you up and out of your body. And it's what you might imagine that any sage throughout time who has been written about, where they talk about ascension, right? Or the idea of enlightenment. And it was through this process that he passed all of the pain and all of the trauma that he had become transmuted. And this light, it was almost like a sacrifice of his life so that I might be able to be elevated. And I woke up from this dream. Immediately I was half disturbed and half just taken in awe because I didn't understand it right away. And this energy sensation kept running through me, and I was being downloaded. And divine providence showed me the meaning of this dream. And the moral of the story: how many times in our life do we experience a parent or a loved one or somebody out in the world that we observe and we lay judgments on them? Or maybe they somehow were a bully or made our life hell, or maybe it was the fact that we felt abandoned by our parents in some way, or silenced by them in some way. And our ability to freely express ourselves was taken away and silenced because we weren't allowed, for whatever reasons or discomfort they had, we weren't allowed to do that. And so we were told to be somebody that they wanted us to be, right? How painful is that? That's the traumas that we go through. It's what changes our very essence of who we are. And then we become, when we receive the imprint somebody else puts upon us, we become another person. And it isn't who we are. So even though we might have hardships with the people in our lives, and it feels like that we ourselves have been put through so much trauma, and then maybe we reach a point where we realize that, and we receive an epiphany, and or after going through a dark night of the soul, and we say, hey, I can't do this anymore. I need to heal. I need wholeness. I need to get better. This is not acceptable. I'm in too much pain. Well, it's when those pain points come that we make a decision to change. But we may look at somebody in our lives, especially our parents, who maybe for whatever reason never made a decision to heal, never made a decision to change. And every one of us has these stories of trauma. My father has been through amazing amounts of trauma throughout his whole life. His childhood was filled with pain that he won't acknowledge.
He never did.
His life has been. My brother, his son, was born with cerebral palsy, handicapped.
Quick note for those of you that don't know. Yeah, I'm watching it with you. I popped my video on the screen just so you could see. I could do a little commentary like this. My brother, I just mentioned, he passed away in November on the same day of the month that my dad passed away this past year, but in November. Been a hard year, y'all.
His second son, Brian, my brother, got killed in a car accident when he was 19. And then 8 years ago, yesterday, in fact, I myself had a severe and sudden illness that put me in the hospital.
That'd be 11 years ago, this past January. Yeah. Yep.
And it almost took my life. I was in a coma for 5 days and on life support for 2 weeks. And then 4 years ago, my parents split up after 50 years of marriage. Now, I've often wondered, how much does it take for a person to have to go through to want to go, okay, this is not good. I've got to change. I need healing in my life, and whatever things have hurt me in my life, I want to heal from those things. So do I believe that it's possible that my father might take all this trauma to the end of his day and never heal from it? Some people might not make an active decision to heal until the day that they are on their deathbed. So do I
Okay, one more comment about that. You know, I would call this an angel in disguise. We often think of the people that have hurt us the most, like I said, as the villain, which you'll hear me talk about in this video more in a minute. Every good story needs one, don't they? How can the character of the story ever improve without one? Food for thought, isn't it, to rethink the role that somebody played in your life when it comes to trauma. I'm not saying it's get out of jail free card. But yes, perhaps, just perhaps, something to think about.
believe that my father may go to the last of his days never having, quote unquote, gotten healed? Yeah.
By the way, I was with my father when he passed away, not at the moment, but he had had a bad fall. And I did a little video on this, but it was when he was sick. I didn't do one after, everything happened. Maybe this is overdue. But yeah, I gave him the great death rites as a shaman. You've heard me mention that, at least in some of my other videos, but that came near the very end of the process and after. But in being with my dad, I could tell he was going through these different parts of dying stages. It wasn't easy, you guys. I mean, this was very traumatizing and brought, I speak to my current students and you guys who have been attending in the ministry services, the cobra that comes to your face. Sometimes it's scary, but it's something that comes up that says, oh, you see me, you need to take care of this, you need to heal. My dad had a cobra or two, but he wasn't really in his right mind, right? Because he had dementia and we didn't know. None of us knew. He could hide things very well, So yeah, I wanted to make mention that I do believe, well, I don't believe. I was thinking more about towards the end when he was in suffering still in the hospital. I knew after the fact that he's doing very well. He's with me now, For those of you that believe that, good. For those of you that don't, why are you watching my channel?
But do I doubt for 1 second that maybe that was his life purpose? Maybe, just maybe, perhaps, before he made a decision to come into this lifetime, to go through and hold all of this trauma in this lifetime, so that I can be served in a way that would make me go through, endure, and overcome the things that I have, so that I might become the healer that I am today, the guide and the teacher, that I might be able to fulfill this soul purpose that I have.
I think Dad would be really proud of me knowing I'd finished my doctorate, a PhD and a doctorate, something that he'll never get to see, And I got I think a copyright strike or something on one of the pieces of artwork that I used, even though it came off of Canva. So if you see me moving myself around a little here, please forgive me for that. It's trying to mitigate anything in that arena. I'll hit play and continue.
What kind of act of service could be more humbling than that? And let me tell you something. I have felt alone my whole life. I have felt very alone. I have felt silenced. I have felt unheard and unseen. And I'm not giving people a free pass, and I'm not saying it's okay, the things that people put you through. I'm just saying that when you consider that maybe, just maybe, their soul made a choice to come and live this lifetime and never appear to have learned any lessons, so that you don't ultimately have to feel alone and abandoned because of that sacrifice. What a humbling thing. And so that's what this dream taught me. So perhaps that was the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah.
Just perhaps they made an agreement to come here and serve and play that role, because every good story needs a villain. In order to have a hero, and there are victims in that story as well. Hurt people. And all of this generational trauma, all of this ancestral trauma is knocking at our door collectively. And there's not a single race or culture or background, whatever you want to call it, on this planet who does not have trauma in their background. Everybody has a story of being betrayed, of being abandoned, being silenced, being enslaved, of being beaten, of being terrorized, right? Maybe even deprived and neglected of a roof over their head or food in their mouth. Or it could just be a silent treatment, right? Get out of my face. You'll never amount to anything. I don't want to see you go to bed without supper. And sometimes it could even be, go get your own switch and make sure you bring me a good one, or I'll go get one myself. Abuse takes many different forms and many different faces. And people who have been abused pass on that abuse unless they figure out a better way, unless they become aware, right? Aware of what has happened to them and why. And it first starts with all of these horrible habits and patterns that we get in. I mean, think of how many times you couldn't stand up to a bully, or you let peer pressure get to you in school because of things that were going on at home. If everybody else is doing it, then you should go along with it too, because you didn't have a voice to speak up. It was taken away from you somewhere along the way, usually between the ages of 0 to 7.
Yep.
And a lot of this stuff we carry is ancestral. It comes down through the lineage. And each and every one of us on this planet, we got a mother and a father. And they had a mother and a father. And every single line that goes out from that backwards through the sands of time carries a burden of trauma on those shoulders.
Yep.
But I want to leave you with this. Even people that seem to us like they just live a really shitty life, or they're a really shitty person, or we feel like that they're just, no matter how many acts of God come along in their life, that they'll never, quote unquote, learn a lesson. Consider for a moment that they are an original angel of sorts. Maybe, just maybe, they made a decision to come here and play the supporting role, which is not a fun one because it requires a life of sacrifice in the form of trauma and being the abuser. Because, you know,
I realize it's very deep metaphorical things, right? But this is my wheelhouse. Those of you who watch my channel, this is hopefully where you kind of live a lot, are these deep questions. And if not, welcome. Welcome home. That feels homey.
karma, one way that you can look at it is that it's not good or bad. It's just a result. You know, what you put out comes back. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad, and it doesn't matter in which lifetime that happens. And sometimes, maybe, just like we as human beings walking this earth have powerful decisions to make every single day as to how we're going to respond to anything, so too in the afterlife do you have that powerful choice. You know how I know? Because I have been there. And that intends to be my next story.
It is my next story. You guys see the phoenix? That's the new logo for SoulFire Ministries. It's a phoenix rising from the ashes with the caduceus transposed. How about that one?
As you heard me say yesterday, 8 years. 8 years. I celebrate life. But man, oh, the price I paid to come.
For those of you that don't know, this channel or this picture above me. Oh man. Excuse me. That wasn't me when I first got out of the hospital 11 years ago. That was me after I had come home and been home for several months in rehabilitation and bedfast. And I had to go back into, wasn't at the hospital, it was at a practitioner, a doctor's office. I had to go back to have a procedure done on an emergency. So I spent the better part of a year not knowing whether or not I might check in or check out when I got back. It's a little side note for you.
I'm back. But hey, at least I'm living to tell the story. And so have you. You have lived through every single horrible thing that you've ever been through. Every betrayal, every heartache, every bad decision you've ever made. But guess what? You're still alive. And you're breathing. And you're doing well. Hell, we all made it through 2020. I don't know what 2021 brings.
Well, now we do. Now we know exactly what. Well, now we don't know what 2024 brings. Wow, this is going to be a crazy year too. But I don't see it coming down. I mean, do you? Comment, let me know.
I can tell you this, as somebody who studies astrology, that with Uranus in the mix of everything, if you are depending on something, you can depend on not depending on it. Be prepared. Be resilient. Prior proper planning prevents piss poor performance.
I should just say what I really think, right?
I think that's true with everything. And it's really helpful to get to the point in your life when you can learn to think on your feet very fast. And a lot of us have gotten rusty on that. And really, in these times, especially in 2021, learning how to depend on yourself and learning how to become emotionally resourceful and emotionally dependent on yourself and understanding what your own resources mean, right? It's super important. And I think I would even dare say it is absolutely necessary in order for us to get through. It's our stillness in the storm. And we have to be able to create that stillness, right? We have to be able to find that eye in the middle of the hurricane and figure out what our raft is to kind of float through, right? And I'm here to tell you that you can create that stillness in the eye of the storm. There are tools and techniques that you can learn so that no matter what news you're hearing, no matter what family member or neighbor is trying to, argue, and maybe they're losing their cool and you're losing your cool, no matter what trauma from your past might arise, you'll know how to shift and change where you're at into a good feeling state, a positive one, anytime you want. This means in these uncertain times that you be able to depend on yourself for your own emotional state. So I invite you to break free frequency. A new program that I'm launching is going to help you do.
All right. Let me bring my screen back up. This was a program that I did, obviously, a couple years ago. So, thank you for sticking with it. Thank you if you're still here. To me, it's riveting stuff. I come across videos like this and I can't, I'm glued. So, that break free frequency is kind of important. I don't feel like it's something that we really need to stop honing in on with our focus and awareness, is how to separate ourselves from a current trauma that's taking place. And, we're going through it. We all are going through it right now. A society, the world. And that's one of the things that shamanism accomplishes is through earth-based medicine. Mars is squaring. All right. Yeah, you're honest right now. So these are all the things that I use, right? The things that I use are tools to help you navigate these realms. I don't care if you're having a problem within your own self or you're having a problem with someone else. We as humanity, we haven't grown up yet. We're still letting people push us into places of opposition to each other. I don't like that, and I don't stand for it. I like being able to sit down and hash out personal problems because that's all it ever really is. If you don't have a literal personal problem with somebody, there's nothing there. That's wisdom that's been lost somehow to a great many. I don't want to go much more into that, but I definitely wanted to bring this video to your attention because of what has happened just in my own personal life, to share a piece of me. I haven't talked to a significant amount on video about losing my brother or my dad last year. I also had the second biggest healing crisis of my own life, second only to what happened to me 11 years ago. So there's much for us to discuss. I've got a lot of video content coming out for you guys. I'm also involved with a new school, not just my own, right? So SoulFire Alchemy Academy is a seminary and wisdom school to itself. So if being a minister is something that you have felt close to your heart, wanted to explore more, come see me, shoot me a message, comment below. That would be fun too. However, we will be, because we're a church, we are an interfaith church, and we are a nonprofit. So, and we are IRS compliant nonprofit. These are part of what we offer as our own sort of seminary, university, college, the mystery school, the wisdom school. This is collegiate higher learning material. So if it's something that speaks to you and you want to know more about these hidden mysteries that have been around, this is ancient wisdom, right? We take some of the things from modern times that are the cutting edge and put it with it to fuse it. This is what makes it alchemy. But there's another mystery school that I'm super excited and very proud to be a part of. If you haven't been over to his website yet, I encourage you to do so. His name is James Burgess, and his channel is called Sabian Mysteries. And he speaks of the Elven Star and how the Sabian symbols work to help us create even deeper understanding about who we are. For the great Hermes Trismegistus said, know thyself. And that's something that in the general idea of the wisdom school or the mystery school, we really rally around that idea, because it is the epitome of our idea is that we understand through our own journey that we have to know ourselves deeply, deeply, deeply to really create the life that we want, to manifest the life that we want, to heal very deeply the things that have happened to us. So we have to be able to explore the realms of our inner self. We have to understand, as I said in one of my videos below, that shamanism, what is shamanism? That's that video if you want to go have a look at it. It's all about relationship. That is what shamanism is. And shamanism comes from many different cultures. So, I come at this with a usage of the word that is highly respectful and reverent, because I have a deep understanding of what that word even means, right? It wasn't used in indigenous cultures anywhere. They didn't call themselves shaman. They were medicine men and women. That's one of the reasons I call myself an Appalachian folk medicine woman, because I'm Appalachian and I practice folk medicine, which is a form of indigenous medicine, but I practice a lot of different types of monastic healing, sacred healing. That's what this is. So I urge you to go check it out. Now, if you're interested and your interest is piqued, your curiosity is piqued, you can check out soulfireministries.net. Right now it is hosting the whole idea with Appalachian SoulFire shamanic arts. However, there are gateways through that website to get to the seminary, which is SoulFire Alchemy Academy. Wisdom School, we do have regular services. I invite you to one of them. So let me go ahead and mention that while I'm here, and then I will see you on the flip side, as I say, because I want to invite you to our upcoming ones, okay? So I have a live one for those of you that are remote and want to join me, or maybe you just can't leave your house and can't get out for whatever reason. I want to invite you to come along with me on the equinox. This is for us on Eastern Standard Time in the United States. This is going to be on Tuesday, March 19th. We're going to be holding this, I believe, at 1 p.m. All right, so that's 1 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll put the link below for you to register. Right now, there's no fee, but the ministry would really appreciate anything that you could donate. We are brand new. We were just budding out. We do need funds to be able to function and be able to go and create these things that we want to create in the world. And that is a home and a space for you, a place where you can learn, a place where you can share, a place where you can be who it is that you are in your full authenticity and come to an understanding of what exactly that means. What does it mean? What does it mean to be me? Now, on March 19th for this, right now I have the theme of New Year's celebration because in astrology, this is our astrological New Year. This is the beginning. This is when the sun moves into Aries. And so it's also the International Day for Astrology. So we have a lot to celebrate, you know, and it may not be that astrology is your strong suit. It doesn't really matter because that's not what the whole of the conversation will be about. You know, we'll certainly touch on other things as it relates to what spirit brings up because inevitably you guys make up the curriculum, right? You guys make up the service. So it depends on those of you who've registered and who shows up as to what it evokes and provokes within me. And I step aside and let spirit speak. So that's how it is with our SoulFire Talks. That's why I named it that, Shaman Talks. SoulFire Talks is kind of interchangeable, SoulFire Shaman Talks. And we have these in person here in Knoxville, Tennessee. So if you are near and you would like to join, we do have one coming up. We just had one on Sunday, March 3rd. So our next in-person event is going to be our Shamanic Fundamentals Masterclass. This is a full day retreat. So this is going to be on Sunday, March 24th, Palm Sunday. And I invite you to join. However, you do have to choose a membership. So I will put our membership links below. Again, you can check all those out. You can just go right to my website, bestsoulfire.com. It'll take you right there. And if you want to check out Appalachian SoulFire Shamanic Arts and find out what that's going to be more about, you'll go to soulfireministries.net. Both websites have a gateway to each other. It just requires a little bit more of your exploration. But if you're directly interested or you're in need of healing, you'd like to book a service, I am open for clients right now and taking consultations. So if you would like to have a clear vision quest for me to assess you and give you my evaluation as to what I think would be best for you moving forward, I do offer sacred nutrition and consultation in that way because I am a certified health counselor through the Native American and Indigenous Church. And they are part of us. We are part of them. So we're proud about that too. All right. We're very happy about it. I will just say that because, you know, people get all kinds of offended at different words that I say, but I don't enjoy censoring myself because I want to be in my authenticity, right? And that's partly for your benefit and to help empower you, which is one of the things that I love to do is to show you your own sense of power and authenticity and who you really are, how you can hone and refine who you are, how can you bring about the life it is that you really want to have in your life. Those are my wheelhouses. So in looking for our next service, our next Sunday service, we're going to be looking probably into April for that. And I'm looking at likely April 7th for that service. So that will be on Sunday, April 7th. I don't have the information posted yet, but you can go ahead and register. So if you go to the website to class registration, if you click on the one that's currently there, it takes you to the registration page. Just type in the one that you're registering for. If it's for the first April Sunday service in Knoxville, Tennessee, I'll know that's what you're registering for if you just put that in the little field that allows you to. Okay. So if you have any questions, reach out, stick a comment below. Email's the quickest way to get in touch with me, beth@soulfireministries.net. Go get signed up on our newsletter, bestsoulfire.com. And I will see you on the flip side.